Cowboys OT, presented by the Texas Lottery, is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Sleep Number. The Sleep Number 360 smart bed helps everyone from parents to pros improve their performance through quality sleep. Only at a Sleep Number store. NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass. And by the Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big.
Nothing ever comes easy as a player, coach, or fan of the Dallas Cowboys, and that includes a win in a play-in game in Week 17 of the NFL season. The Cowboys fall on the road at MetLife Stadium to the New York Giants, 23-19. The final scores. The 2020 season comes to a close, and the Cowboys' NFC East playoff hopes are dashed by the hands of New York. Welcome into the Star in Frisco and Cowboys OT, everybody. Kyle Youmans with you alongside a trio of former Dallas Cowboys breaking down what exactly happened up in the great Northeast. Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, and three-time Super Bowl champion Nate Newton joining us as always. And gentlemen, there's a lot of places you could start on this one, but ultimately I want to get your general thoughts on what the Cowboys put on the field today up against the Giants and how they came up short.
Just overall, I would just say the word of the day is inconsistent. It was inconsistent football. I thought the play calling was inconsistent. I thought the execution was inconsistent. I thought the emotional intelligence was lackluster. Guys just did not do enough to win the ball game today.
You were hyped. You were hyped, but you weren't under control. Jordan Lewis, Brandon Gregory, y'all have made plays for the last 3 weeks. You come into the biggest game of our lives here. And you kind of fall apart and make some bad plays there. We can't have that as a team.
Yeah, you can't have that as a team. And as we saw overall as a defense, it just wasn't the same defense that we've got used to seeing these past couple games when they were on the win streak. They were arriving at the ball carrier with bad intentions, and, they were taking all the right angles. But today, it just didn't happen that way. It seemed like there was too many missed tackles. And in the secondary, I feel like we couldn't cover anybody out there. Shepard had his way. Slayton had his way as well. It was just a lackluster performance overall on the defensive side of the ball. And that's not what we needed to have in order to get a victory.
Now, whenever it comes to specific play calling, we're going to get into that coming up in just a moment. But I want to talk about the emotions that were a part of this football game. And Isaiah, I know you were very high on this already, but the emotions seemed to get the better of the Cowboys in the first half. And ultimately that ended up being one of their downfalls and one of the reasons for the slow start.
Yeah, the emotions can do one of two things for you. All right, emotions, especially a game like this, a rivalry game, which is already going to be riding high. But then you put in addition to that, the fact that both teams are playing for the same opportunity. Right, both teams needed a win, and then they need a loss by Washington. And these guys came in here, and it felt like New York had the emotional intelligence to be antagonists, for this game. And they were doing things kind of poking the bear, right? They're poking the bear, and the Cowboys weren't smart enough and intelligent enough to recognize that that's what they were doing, and they did things on the field, which we'll talk about specifically, that ended up hurting them.
They wasn't great on third down. New York wasn't great on third down, but Jordan Lewis gave them another chance. Mm-hmm. They wasn't great on third down, but Randy Gregory gave them another chance. And I think they got points off of both of those situations. You can't allow that to happen.
Yeah, you can't allow that to happen. You hate to see stuff that has nothing to do with the game affect the game. We're in third down. We got them off the field, the money down. We're getting the ball back to our offense, and you go and make a play like that. I'm talking about the Jordan Lewis play when he headbutted the guy who seemed to not even be talking to him. We're looking in his direction. So he just let his emotions get the better of him, and it ended up costing his team and his defense a first down. And I believe on that same drive, they ended up scoring. So overall, that was a bonehead mistake, and there was plenty of those throughout this whole game.
Taking a look at some of these highlights, and really a lot of them involve the Cowboys getting gashed in the run game. This was a big turning point that almost turned the tide for the Cowboys at the end of it. But Isaiah, when you look at some of the play calling and some of the decisions early on, it really goes to that challenge, no challenge on the Pettis catch.
Yeah, the Pettis catch, just even starting things off, right? Jason Garrett came out and punched us in the mouth, and it didn't seem like we responded until the second half. It came out early with the reverse and the touchdown. But then as we go into that challenge where Pettis made the catch, didn't make the catch, McCarthy didn't give his team an opportunity to come out of that successful. I think that's something that's going to be talked about for a long time.
Yeah, whenever you look at that challenge, it's ultimately going to be something that the Cowboys are going to look at, because Mike McCarthy very easily could have thrown the red flag and given them an opportunity to have at least less than a field goal to go after in that drive as well. But when we come back here on Cowboys OT, we're just getting underway. We're going to look at the offensive side of the football and how the Cowboys were unable to convert in the red zone when we come back on Cowboys OT. Just getting underway here on Cowboys OT following the Cowboys' 23-19 loss to the New York Giants in the end of the 2020 campaign for Mike McCarthy in his first season as the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. And let's talk about Mike McCarthy and that offense, as the Giants defense, which has been good throughout the 2020 campaign, held the Cowboys to just over 300 yards and less than 4 yards per play. And gentlemen, when we look at this offense, it really kind of struggled to get off the ground from the get-go. And Nate, I want to start with you on this one. What did you see from the offense that really kind of struggled to get going early on and didn't ever find that rhythm behind Andy Dalton?
Well, Kyle, I'd say like Zero, we talked about it in the pregame that we had to be careful of our offensive line because Leonard Williams had been having a good season to this point, and it continued today. He was up under constant pressure. He wasn't as sharp getting the ball out to his receivers early in the game, and it showed up big. Zeke went out with a slight injury, and we couldn't get anything going with the run game. So our offensive line did not play up to what we've seen the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, to me overall, I just think we gave up on the run game a little bit too quick. You know, I know it was kind of a 3 yards in a cloud of dust situation with Zeke, but I feel like we gave out on it a little too early in the game. I think we could have held on a little bit to that and kind of kept the Giants off balance. For us to get one-dimensional like that, I don't think we're a good enough team to just go out there and pass the ball all over the place and expect to win. I think the Giants did a great job of keeping us in that one-dimensional realm, and they ended up getting the victory today.
Yeah, Nate Dogg said it before the game. We needed to control that line of scrimmage, and we didn't do that. That's one thing that we did not do. He talked about Leonard Davis absolutely completely just controlling and dogging all of our offensive linemen and whoever he lined up against. I think he had 3 sacks on the game. Mm-hmm. And then we talk about Martinez. Martinez came in there and balled out as well. When Zeke took himself out the game, obviously Pollard has to come in, and then Martinez's ears perked up because he knew that Pollard couldn't block him. And you saw a couple plays in there where he came in there and really just established his will on that side of the ball. It was pretty embarrassing, and we didn't start catching our footing to the second half, and we didn't have enough firepower to win.
Now, whenever we look here at Andy Dalton, it seemed like he was a different quarterback ever since that end of the third quarter drive when he got that left hand stepped on. Isaiah, you're a former quarterback. How much does that affect a player like that? Because really from then on out, it didn't look like the same Andy Dalton that was kind of finding a rhythm.
Yeah, it seemed like he was a little bit depressed for a second there. I've had something similar happen to me in the game back in the day where somebody stepped on my hand and my hand swelled up, and you saw immediately, I think the next play where they went to go hand the ball off to Zeke, he handed it off with his right hand, going to his right side, which is something that you don't do as a quarterback. So it lets you know right there was something on the forefront of his mind. But it's something that I saw that he did overcome, right? He came back, he started playing confident ball again. It just took him a second to shake it off.
I tell you, like right here, when I saw that, man, I knew it would take him a few seconds to get it right because he broke something. I mean, to me, he broke something because he's bleeding all over the place. They showed his glove, and he's still bleeding. Hey, man, hats off to you, Andy, because I've never been in that position, but I've had my hand stepped on, but I've never been a quarterback either.
Yeah, as a quarterback, that had to be extremely painful. Yeah. Luckily, it wasn't on his throwing arm. But look, I mean, he showed a valiant effort out there today. I mean, with the injury, with everything going on, having that slow start, he still battled back and had this team battle in a position to try to take the lead. We just weren't able to take advantage of that red zone, and that's what the difference I think was. This during this 3-game winning streak when we played against Cincinnati and those guys, we were efficient in the red zone. We walked away with 7 instead of 3, and this afternoon we weren't able to do that. New York, you got to give their hats off to them. They played great in the red zone, and it ended up proving to be the difference.
And really, whenever they got into that final 20 yards, it just stalled out again. It looked like the Cowboys from week 1 through 13. Here's a couple looks at the offensive stats for the Cowboys. You look at the rushing game, just really didn't get going. 108 yards after they've had back-to-back weeks of over 130. Zeke never got going, just 42 yards. He finishes under 1,000 yards in a season for the first time in his career. Nate, whenever it comes to this offense, what's the biggest worry for you really quickly on going into the postseason postseason, or excuse me, the offseason, and what they could improve on that side of the football?
Well, first of all, they're going to get a lot of guys healthy, and that's going to be an instant success right there. But now they know who their backups are. They got some depth, so they can play freewheeling and do everything they need to do. I have no worries about the offseason as long as those guys come back healthy.
Should be something to look forward to for the Cowboys coming up in the offseason, which starts today because the Cowboys are eliminated from postseason contention. When we come back, we're going to look on the defensive side of the football. Donovan Wilson had another big day, but the Cowboys secondary struggled in the 23-19 loss. Dallas is now promised a top 11 pick in the NFL draft coming up in April. As their season comes to a close, they fall to 6-10 and are eliminated from NFC East contention. Kyle Youmans here with you on Cowboys OT. Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback, and Barry Church. And Barry, you're the defensive one at the desk. I want to start with you here. Another big day for Donovan Wilson. He had a sack. He had an interception, his second of the season. But what do you think about the secondary overall? Because they seem to struggle at times.
Yeah, overall, the secondary, they just didn't play quite up to the level that we thought they were going to play. I mean, they weren't as opportunistic as they were in the previous games. They did end up getting an interception, but it was off of a tip, basically a drop pass from Evan Ingram. And Wilson just happened to be on the spot for that interception. But overall, like I said earlier, Slayton had his way. What's the guy's name? Shepard. He had his way with the whole secondary. But overall, I mean, I feel like this defense, they kind of dropped the ball when it came to this last kind of playoff stretch, and they weren't able to do or make the plays necessary to get this offense in scoring position or get this team the victory.
You know, you see a lot of energy with Donovan Wilson. A lot of those guys, Xavier Wood came back today, I think, played fairly well. But they did just enough. When you look at it, you're 0 for 7 on third downs, except for the bad penalties that we did defensively. We made some plays. It's just we're not there yet as players, as defensive players, because when you play in a big game like this, you have to play on certain situations, just shut down football, and we didn't do that today. We didn't complete it.
Yeah, I feel like these guys, they were opportunistic today, and they took advantage of the things that presented themselves, whether it be a fumble or whether it be a interception. But when it came down to the everyday plays, that's where they really fumbled the rock. And I say that because, I know we already talked about the emotional intelligence, but they got caught up in that game. They got caught up talking, and that's what DBs naturally do. Defensive backs, yes, you too, BC. DBs naturally like to talk, and they like to talk smack. But the thing is, they have to be quiet, and they have to close their mouth when somebody is routing them up like Shepard was, when they were converting first downs like Shepard and the rest of the Giants offense was. So you kind of get caught up in that back and forth, and they just didn't take care of business, and especially playing soft coverage today. They weren't physical enough at all.
And when you look at the secondary overall, I mean, Donovan Wilson is a bright spot for what he's been able to do. There's the interception that he had, his second of the year, and really kind of finds a way to make plays. He had a sack later on. Is this the kind of safety that Dallas has been waiting for? He's a young guy. He's got a couple years left on his deal, has an opportunity to really be a cornerstone of that defense if he continues to make plays like he did today, Barry.
Yeah, I think he has the opportunity to be a real special safety. I mean, when you're a guy out there who kind of just becomes a ball magnet, no matter what happens, if you hit a guy, the ball pops out. The ball seems to just find you on tips and overthrows. Those are the kind of safeties that make big money in this league, and they make a difference on the defensive side of the ball. Not to mention that he's young already, under contract, and this is a guy that you can develop. If you got guys around him to make him a better player, I think he will stand out. Look, we just got to get better overall on the defensive side of the ball, and I think it starts with him. He can be a cornerstone of this defense.
I just believe what you say there, Barry, is that if we can put a better corners, better slot guys out there, let him be a little bit freer. Let's say Xavier Wood is with us next year, and he beats that down low guy, or they can be switching in and out. That is how you make plays with guys like that. He's an energy guy. He's a striker. You got to kind of muzzle him sometimes because he's going to hurt you with a few penalties here and there. But for the overall part, he's got the energy.
No, I totally agree. I think he just needs some complementary players around him. Obviously, we have a young Diggs out there. We need another young corner that can come out there and put some hands on some guys. We need our guys to get more physical on the outside because we're getting physical play at that safety position.
Let's take a look at some of the defensive stats whenever it comes to today's loss. And 336 yards, that's not the most the Cowboys have given up this season, but you look at the interception, the fumble, they had opportunities to make plays, kept the points allowed low, but the offense just really didn't get off the ground. So I'm going to ask you one more question here, Barry, before we take our third break. But is this defense improved from the beginning of the year, even with some of the injuries they have on that side of the football?
Oh, without a doubt. I think they improved from the beginning of the year. I mean, at the beginning, we've seen guys coming off the street running for 300 yards against this defense. So they definitely improved. But in this game, I feel like the difference was the red zone. In the three games that we won, we were great in the red zone. We let a lot of yards in between the 20s, but in the red zone, we kind of shut it down. Today was not the case. Shepard had 2 touchdowns in the red zone, and this offense was able to capitalize on that. So overall, we got to get better in the red zone, but I think we have a bright future as a defense.
Mike McCarthy wrapping up his first season as head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll hear what the head coach had to say when we come back on the other side of the break on Cowboys OT. Rolling along here on this edition of Cowboys OT as Week 17 is in the rearview mirror. So is the 2020 season, the first with Mike McCarthy as the head coach. Let's hear from Mike McCarthy following the 23-19 loss in New York.
Mike, can you just start with your level of frustration or disappointment of the team playing itself in position for this game to mean something or give you a chance and failing to finish it?
I mean, it's been obviously a year of a lot of ups and downs, trials and tribulations, and frankly, in some ways, this game's a bit of a microcosm of our season. But I felt that the guys, obviously, this month of December, have continued to work and put us in position to play for potentially, a playoff berth, after what happens tonight. But yeah, it's disappointing that we didn't come out of here today with the win. There's some struggles during the course of the game, but our guys fought all the way down to the end. I'm disappointed for him. I think, like all of us to a man, we felt confident coming in here that we'd be able to come out of here today with a victory.
Can you walk us through the decision not to challenge the catch before the last New York field goal?
Yes, I mean the catch. It was obviously down in our area, and the way the receiver turned to me and the information we just felt it was too close. We felt it was a kind of a bang bang type situation, and the fact of the matter we were in a tight game, and the 3 timeouts was obviously of high value there, so we just didn't think there was enough information to overturn it.
Did you consider going for 2 catch coach, or what do you think?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Have you had a chance to look at that play since, and what do you think now? If so.
No, I just came from the locker room. I just addressed the players, and here I am. I have not seen the play.
Did you consider going for 2 after the Zeke touchdown?
Not at that point in the game. It was too early in the game to go for 2, in my opinion. There.
Mike, how do you guys handle replay situations? Who's up in the booth giving you the information, or is it you looking at the big board and seeing what you see?
Well, I mean, we're trying to gather as much information as possible. Obviously, you don't get a whole lot of help on the road, particularly if it's a play that is something that you have higher interest in than your opponent. I think that's the norm. But also, yeah, we have coaches in the box that relay the information. That ultimately I make the decision.
Was any of the procedures involved?
Mike, do you feel like game management has been an issue for this team all season?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Were any of the procedures
the risk of losing a timeout wasn't worth that? That cost them 3 points. Gave them 3 points. You'd have been going down for a field goal instead of needing a touchdown at the end.
As I've addressed it, I didn't feel there was enough information for them to overturn it. We didn't think it was clear and obvious.
So those back-to-back answers, Week 17, final week of the regular season, might have been the shortest answers we've heard from Mike McCarthy all season long. Frustration, certainly, as they are eliminated from playoff contention. But, guys, as we look at kind of what Mike McCarthy had to say about it in game management, do you agree with Mike McCarthy in the fact that there was no issue with the game management on the 4th and 1 and the no challenge late in that game?
I wholeheartedly disagree. Every reason that he gave to why he didn't challenge that is the reason why you would challenge that. He mentioned the fact that they had 3 timeouts and that they're valuable. Yes, okay, but you have 3 timeouts, so you can afford to lose one for something that can gain you that opportunity. He also talked about the fact that it was inconclusive. Well, guess what? That's another reason why you would challenge because it could go either way. So I totally disagree with him in that regard. I just feel like, obviously he has to answer these questions, but he didn't have enough information and he didn't make a quick enough decision. And obviously the Giants were smart enough to hurry up and get back on the ball.
I mean, he seemed to be confident in what he was saying and what his information was giving him. But when it's in real time, like, I'm kind of confused at what he said. I mean, the lawyer over here just broke it down. Coach, the bottom line, you should have challenged that. It was there, and you would have done it 8 games ago. Why can you do it in the biggest game of our opportunity for a playoff? So, Coach, you should have challenged that.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with everybody up here. I think Coach should have definitely challenged that call. I mean, look, it's the end of the year. It's the last game of the season right now. What else do you have to lose? And look, I know it happened quick, but the guys up top, they should have been able to get down to you. Hey, this is an opportunity we got to take advantage of. At worst, I mean, you lose a timeout, or if you get it right, I mean, you push them back out of field goal range, you get the opportunity to get your ball back. I mean, this was a huge call that he made the judgment of not making and ended up costing the team.
And I think you do have to credit the Giants. Isaiah did that just a second ago of how quickly they got up to the football because they didn't waste any time getting ready for the field goal attempt, and it was a 50-yard field goal attempt. So not only did they get up there quicker, but they made the field goal. And I think ultimately that's something that paid dividends for New York. When we come back, Ezekiel Elliott with just 42 yards rushing in the game. How did he think the 23-19 loss went? Ezekiel Elliott falling short by 21 yards of the 1,000-yard mark. The first time in his career that he has not hit 1,000 yards in a season. Here's his thoughts following the 23-19 loss to the New York Giants.
Zeke, what were the Giants doing that was so frustrating that the Cowboys weren't able to get off in the run game early?
I mean, their D-line they got a lot of good guys up front, and they play really well, and they did a good job at the line of scrimmage.
Was it a quad injury early for you?
Say it again?
Was it a quad injury earlier for you that you had to go out and then come back in for?
Yeah, just kind of dealing with a quad. It just seemed like this year has been super rough. I mean, I think maybe my hammy, that's been bothering me since we played Philly in the first week. Just kind of, my quad maybe was trying to overwork for it, and so I've kind of got a quad strain in practice last week, but I mean, it's just something I had to work through. By second half, I felt fine.
How would you describe that first half for your offense there? It's like you guys had a lot of trouble just getting going, passing and running.
Yeah, I mean, their defense came out, they played well. Yeah.
What's the emotions like in that locker room? I mean, obviously you had to win and wait for a game tonight. What are the emotions like right now?
Just upset. We're upset that we didn't do what we needed to do to put ourselves in the situation to get in. Just upset with the outcome of this game. Up and down to that last play, the fumble. Kind of got the emotions going. Looks like we got the ball back, but guess that wasn't true. But just disappointed.
Did you get a chance to see the Penalties catch up on the board at all? Think he was a catch?
I saw the Pettis catch. It looked a lot like the one from the playoffs before I got to the Cowboys. I think it was like 2014 maybe, the one that Dez had in Green Bay that they called incomplete. It looked like that one to me, but I think since then they've changed the rule, and so I don't know. I'm not a ref. I don't get to make those calls.
Because how this game went, kind of emblematic of the season, kind of ugly early, got affected there late, and not able to make some plays there at the end.
Say it again? I'm sorry. There's a lot of loud noises over here.
Yeah, but how this game ended, kind of emblematic of your season and how it went.
How what went? I'm sorry. I'm lost. How the game went. Can you repeat the question?
How this game went, kind of emblematic of how your season went. Kind of ugly early, efficient late, and then it's just not enough plays at the end.
I think maybe you could say that. I think the biggest was just at the end, that fumble that we thought we got. Them not giving it to us is that really wrote up the whole season in a nutshell.
How rude of that food cart to get in the way of Ezekiel Elliott's post-game coverage in the MetLife corridors. I can't believe that would happen. But it was a good question from John Machota asking about the microcosm of the entire 2020 season, kind of summed up in this one game. And Isaiah, I posed that question to you. Do you think that this game kind of really showed exactly a good summary of how this Cowboys season went?
It definitely has some parts in it. This season's been all over the place, but we just heard, Zeke talk about some of the injuries that he sustained, and maybe that's why he wasn't as effective this year as everybody hoped for. He talked about a hamstring strain in the first week. I wasn't knowledgeable about that. Then he talked about a quad pull in practice. Well, we see his first pass that he went out to try to receive on a swing route. He pulled himself out the game. We know he had a calf injury. We've had a ton of injuries. We've had COVID. We've had deaths in the family. We've had guys get cut, veterans underperform. It's been all over the map this year. Just throw it away and come back next year.
Quickly, you think about what has happened here. Then the fumble where the guy sits on the ball, and then somehow he gets the ball amongst all that tangle there. And that's how this season's been. Fumble here, bad play there. But at the end of the day, you guys showed some heart, and y'all came back and you played well. This game here didn't show who you are, but, you got through the season.
Yeah, overall, they showed heart, and like you said, that was a microcosm of this season. Balls bouncing this way, fumbles going this way, balls bouncing off a guy's chest and get intercepted. It definitely was a microcosm, and I feel like during the season, we got away from the running game too early, just like in this game. We got away from the running game too early. We only gave the guy 14 carries. I know it didn't seem a lot at the time, but we got to keep these defenses unbalanced, like we did last week against Philadelphia. We weren't able to do that this week. New York made us one-dimensional, and we ended up paying for it in the end.
23-19, the final score. And the Cowboys lose to the Giants for the first time since Zeke's rookie season in 2016. The Cowboys, previous to today, had won 7 straight against the G-Men. But when we come back here on Cowboys OT, we'll continue to hear reaction from the locker room as the 2020 season comes to a close. And the Cowboys fall on the road. Their NFC East hopes are dashed, but the season is over. We continue next. The Cowboys hold the Giants to 23 points, but the offense doesn't get off the ground in a 23-19 loss, and the 2020 playoff hopes are dashed from MetLife Stadium. Let's go ahead and swipe on out there and hear from Jalen Smith after the game.
Jalen, how would you describe the frustration in the locker room and how do you manage to eliminate yourself from the playoffs?
Can you say that again, please? I'm sorry. It's kind of loud here.
How would you describe the emotions in the locker room after the game, and how frustrating is it to not win this game that you need to stay alive for the playoff race?
It's tough. Anytime you get an opportunity to step on a national football league field, you go out there and the goal is to win. And especially when there's so much on the line, to come up short, it hurts. No one likes losing. And for us, it's about how do we learn, how do we grow from this. Prayers to anyone who's hurt, and praying for health and sickness. And for us, it's about learning. It's about learning. So just got to continue to process, what's happened, not only today but all season, and grow from it. In times of difficulty, it really shows each individual who they are. So we got to find a way to persevere. It's been a long season, and for us, we didn't get the job done. So we're not satisfied at all. I'm not.
Taylor, how difficult were those first half penalties that you guys had? You had one, you jumped over a guy, obviously there's a couple others there in that first half.
Division rival games, it's just the balance between aggressiveness and not doing anything that could jeopardize your team. There's a couple bad calls, obviously, but it's the game. It's the game. It's the game of football, and you got to find a way. We were able to go into the second half and come out with some spark and gave ourselves a shot at the end, but we didn't get it done. So there's no moral victories.
That fumble at the end, did you guys think how soon you guys thought that you recovered? What did you see there in that last sequence of that run?
Ball out, got to get the ball, and we thought we had it. But we aren't the referees. We don't make decisions, and at the end of the day, you just got to live with every single play. You never know when it's your last, so you just got to cherish each moment. We could have done a lot better today as a unit, and we didn't. So now it's just about, okay, how do we debrief and learn from this and segue ourselves into a great 2021 season in the near future.
There's a lot to grow on, like Jalen Smith just said, especially on that side of the football. And we talked about it in the first segment or the second segment with Barry a second ago, but there has been improvement on the defensive side from week 1 to week 17, but there's still a long way to go, and you're going to get healthy, Isaiah, on that side of the football with a couple of your D tackles coming back. Hopefully your linebacking core is ready to go for next season, but there's still a lot of growth that has to happen on that side of the football to really make you contenders again in the NFL.
Yeah, my hope for these guys this offseason is that they create an identity. This defense started to have a little bit of resemblance of some form of an identity, some kind of culture on that side of the ball over these past probably 4 or 5 games. But today, if there was ever a time where they reverted back to how they started the season, this was it. These guys were playing as a bunch of individuals. There's a lot of me, a lot of I. We didn't hear too much we, right? No we today. It was a lot of I. And we saw that today. A lot of selfish decisions, a lot of selfish play. And obviously it didn't come together collectively as a defense.
Yeah, you got Donovan Wilson, you got Gallimore, you got a few guys, you got CeeDee Lamb on offense, but you got a few young guys on defense that came into play, man. They try to do what they can do. But like you say, a lot of times we saw the defensive line going in different directions. They want one accord, and that right there hurt them. And so, like you said, the we wasn't there, but the I was, and it hurts you. And every time you have those eyes, it costs you losses.
Yeah, it hurt them overall. Like you guys said, I mean, the decisions out there, the penalties out there, it hurt this team as a whole. And this one's going to sting. This one's going to sting a lot. I mean, in my time here with the Dallas Cowboys, I've had 3 8-8 seasons. And just like this, where it's the last game, the kind of play-in game to get into the postseason, and we come up short as a defense. And look, overall, they got a couple good cornerstone pieces for this defense. Like you said, young Wilson, they got Diggs coming back. They got a couple good young defensive tackles like Neville Gallimore in there. So they got a couple corner pieces that they can bring back for this defense. But this is going to sting, and hopefully, like Jalen said, they learn from this and get better next year.
Really quickly, Barry, give me one player on the defensive side of the football that has to have a better 2021 because of a good offseason than they had in 2020.
I'm going to have to go with, man, that's a tough one. You put me on the spot a little bit. But I'm going to have to go, if he is here, Jalen Smith. If he's here, he's going to have to perform better going into this 2021 season. He's going to be that kind of quarterback of the defense with no Sean Lee, I'm assuming. So he's going to have to get better to make this defense overall a better defense in 2021.
I definitely think that's a good point because he's going to have some question marks around his contract this offseason. We still have more post-game reaction on the way on Cowboys OT. Andy Dalton, 29 of 47 passing for 243 yards, no touchdowns in the 23-19 loss to New York. Let's go back out to MetLife Stadium and hear from Andy Dalton in what was his final game as the starter this year.
Hey, Andy, can you just start with the emotions of playing your way back into this and then not being able to finish it off today with this opportunity?
Yeah, we had a lot of fight, and to just give ourselves an opportunity to have this game mean something, and this team's been through a lot, and for us to just have this opportunity, I mean, it shows the fight in this team. We would have liked to have had a different result today. We wish we would have played better. I wish I would have played better, and allowed this team a chance to see what would happen tonight. But doesn't take away from this group and the fight that they have.
Andy, what was the nature of your hand injury? How is it doing now? And Mike McCarthy said you might need stitches. Do you know yet if that's going to be required?
Yeah, you know, I slid on one of the runs and I got stepped on, and so there's a pretty big open gash, and so I got stitches right after the game, and so I'll be fine though. But I've got some stitches in my hand now.
What was the key to playing through that, and did it affect you much or less so because it wasn't your throwing hand?
No, it was my left hand, so you know, I was fine. Put a glove on it, and you know, that's the only thing you really worry about is just you're being able to grip the ball and taking snaps and all that kind of stuff, and it didn't affect anything.
What were the offensive difficulties you had as a unit in the first half, and what were you able to find in the second half? What was it, going to the tempo game a little bit more that kind of got you some rhythm?
Yeah, I think being up tempo helped us a lot. And so early on, we got behind the chains. You know, for me, I missed a couple throws that, you know, I should have made and would allow us to keep the chains moving and get first downs on early downs. And so, you know, I think that was the key. We weren't able to do that. Second half, I think going up tempo helped us a little bit. We got some momentum. We got, you know, kept getting positive plays, and you know, we moved the ball a lot better. But you know, at the end, we had our opportunity, and we weren't able to make the play to allow us to win this game.
Andy, how much is red zone the issue today when it's really been an issue for a good portion of the season?
Yeah, you know, that was one of the things that, you know, kind of changed the game. We had to kick field goals rather than scoring touchdowns, and you know, it's unfortunate. You know, there's, you know, just to have the opportunity to be down there. We got a short field with the defense, you know, getting a takeaway early on, and for us not being able to convert that, had to kick a field goal. You know, that, you know, things like that have changed the outcome of the game, and you know, we had to be better in the red zone, and you know, we weren't today.
Not all of the offensive struggles were really on the back of Andy Dalton. He seemed to find a rhythm in that third quarter, but got off to a slow start, and then right there at the end threw the interception in the red zone. Just could not convert whenever they needed him to convert the most. But Isaiah, what did you think about Andy Dalton today? I thought there were bright spots, there were the highs, there were the lows, but ultimately you can't have games like that whenever it's a win or go home scenario.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. One thing that I respect about Andy Dalton is when he doesn't have a good game, he owns up to it. He owns up to it. You saw that. That was a grown man right there. That was a leader taking responsibility for his bad play. He did not have his best game today. As he mentioned in his interview there were some balls that he missed. There was a lot of inaccurate throws that he had. He had some overthrows. He had some miscues, and it killed drives. It killed opportunities. And as a quarterback going into a game of this magnitude, we know that you can't miss those opportunities, and unfortunately he did that today.
There were 4 times in that red zone, and they only got to score once. And they were one for, that was what, 25%. Then goal to goal, that's 5 yards or less. They were 1 out of 2. So, you know, that's what we did in earlier games that we won. We took advantage of those situations. This game here, we didn't take advantage of those situations. And just more than Andy Dalton was not doing their job today.
Yeah, you know, we didn't see the most efficient Andy Dalton that we've seen these past couple games. And I think the biggest difference offensively in this game, there was 2 things. One, like you said, of the red zone, we just weren't able to walk away with touchdowns. We walked away with field goals. And the other thing, it was the third down efficiency, the money down. We were 6 of 17 against the New York Giants today. We just couldn't sustain long drives. It kind of kept the defense out there. And we were only 35% on third down. You can't do that and be considered a successful team and try to walk away with a victory. It ended up being the downfall for the Cowboys this afternoon.
Really quickly here, Nate, it seemed like today was the least efficient we've seen this offensive line since maybe week 13 against Baltimore. What did you think about the front 5?
Oh, man, they did what they could, but, you know, they've played, me personally, they played over their head for the last 3 or 4 games. New York has played better competition than us, and it showed. And Leonard Williams dominated wherever he lined up today. He dominated, led that, and they handled their business on us offensively.
No matter what the result was today, I think all of Cowboys Nation can talk about this offensive line and Andy Dalton and their contributes to this team in 2020 as positive things. Kept the Cowboys alive as long as they did, just couldn't get the job done in Week 17. We'll be right back and wrap things up here on Cowboys OT.
The Cowboys OT, presented by the Texas Lottery, was brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Wendy's. Wendy's new pretzel bacon puff cheeseburger at participating Wendy's for a limited time only. NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass. And by the Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big.
One final look at the final stats of the final game of 2020 as the Cowboys fall to the New York Giants 23-19. The final score, the Cowboys outgained, really outplayed by the Giants in what was a win or go home scenario. So the Cowboys are on their way back home as their 2020 NFC East playoff dreams are now dashed and the Cowboys season has come to a close. Welcome into the final segment here of Cowboys OT. Kyle Youmans, glad to be with you all season long here on DallasCowboys.com and the Cowboys Network. But Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback, couple final thoughts here on the 2020 season. The Cowboys up and down of probably what was the longest, or it seemed like the longest season in Cowboys history. Coronavirus playing a huge role into it, injuries as well. But Isaiah, as the season comes to a close, what are your final thoughts on it?
Final thoughts are, go back and revisit everything that you've gone through. Revisit everything that you've gone through, everything that you've overcome. Even though you didn't have the results that you wanted, you still battled through. You still came out the other end. I think management has a lot of decisions to make. Players have a lot of decisions to make and a lot of soul searching. But no matter what, this needs to be a better organization and a better team come next season.
Just remember that you fought through a hard time and you came up big. I mean, you went on a 3-game winning streak. Find that person. Look in the mirror, find that person, hold on to that person, and don't be this person we saw that last game. Work through that. Be a better team.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster of a ride so far this 2020 season. And I think what the Cowboys need to do is they need to look at each other in the mirror and say, look, man, we were the only ones that had each other's backs. We were the only ones that thought we were going to get to this point. After the season started, I think 2-7, I believe. Everybody kind of downpoured on them and said it's a wrap. But they believed in themselves, and they got themselves to the point where they were one game out of possibly getting an opportunity to get into the playoffs. So they got to look at themselves in the mirror and say, hey, we fought back, we clawed, we scratched. We just got to perform better earlier in the season. And hopefully in 2021, with hopefully a normal offseason, they'll be able to do that.
It really has been a crazy season here from Frisco, and the Star is never going to be really the same after what we saw here in 2020. And as we go into 2021, there are a lot of different options for this Dallas Cowboys organization and how it's going to look heading into the future as they try and get back into contention around the NFL. But I want to take a moment to thank everyone that's been a part of our broadcast all year long here on Cowboys OT. For Matt, for Kevin, for Chris, for Rox, for Scott Purcell, for Aaron, for Madison, Tristan, and even Alex Lilly, who's manning the camera at the moment. For Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, and Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Youmans saying so long. We'll see you next season on Cowboys OT.